I don't know what just happened there. The stream didn't want to go live, Andy. I'm just sitting there going, it's spinning. But anyway, guys, welcome back to Gardens, the Untold Story. I'm your host, Ken Somerville, my co-host, Andy Lopez, the Invisible Gardener. And he's got a new show, guys. You'll have to check that out. You'll have to check out, go to his website. It has all the links on it. But Andy, you wanted to talk about biogeometry today. And you told me I should have had a capital G, and I'm sorry, guys. It came out with a small G anyway. But Andy, what the hell is biogeometry? And we have no sound coming from Andy's microphone.
Oh, yeah, man.
There
Okay.
we go.
I knew that button. Well, normally I see a flashing button. I see everything flashes before me, so it's not unusual to see a flashing button, over there. It's one of those things. But I do so many different things, and then I later find out somebody does that and gives it a name. I said, "Oh, cool. That's what you want to call it, right?" So biogeometry, that's what my music is really about, because biogeometry is in nature. See, Mother Nature has geometry, and she does biogeometry. That's how that's why water is so important, because water is one of those things. Like what's the name of that book? Crystals, about the shape of the crystals. Water, something about water.
You're talking the fourth phase of water, Dr. Gerald Pollock, or are you talking about Dr. Yamamoto in his book?
Yeah, Yamamoto, right? Because he said the crystals have a geometry shape, right? And that really happens through harmonics. So all about biogeometry is really all about harmonics.
Yeah.
And so, if anybody knows anything about harmonics, it's when you have something over here and you have something over there, and they both harmonize. Somehow that makes them harmonize, and that's what so bioharmonics has to do with living beings, living biology, right? Right.
Well, so what you're talking about is those ladies that go to university, and all the ladies synchronize for that time of the month. That's everything comes together and harmonizes.
That's one way to look at it, right? Another way is like in nature, we are surrounded with harmonics. In nature, we have harmonics all over. When you talk about frequencies, it's all about harmonics. So we have you have two tuning forks. You ding on one, the other one starts. The closer you get to it, the more it vibrates. It doesn't even have to be close. It harmonizes from anywhere. And so in nature, it has expanded to harmonics. Has to do with not just the planet Earth, but has to do with the solar system and the sun and all that. That's harmonics. And see, so we are surrounded with bioharmonics, and this is just a particular. It's interesting because it was I was going to say discovered, but he developed the word biogeometry, and it's an Egyptian.
Okay.
And it's understandable why this Egyptian would do it, because they've had it in their culture for centuries. Just think pyramid. That's a biogeometric structure. You see, right? And you're going to find that pyramid all over the world because it harmonizes in a certain way. It affects the biology. It also affects the soil. So if it affects human biology, it affects soil biology. It affects all the biology, whether it be insects, birds, trees. It's all biology, and it all harmonizes with. So nature has a way of making a physical structure a visual. It's like when we talk about the fractal.
Yes.
The fractal is a visual form of seeing biogeometry, because you'll see the different, right? And so each fractal can be harmonized to a tree, for example. You can see the biogeometry of a tree, or the biogeometry of a human being, or an ant, or the soil. So when we talk about it's all about the biology, I kind of expanded a lot. That we all not include the soil, we include everything.
Yeah.
Human beings, trees. It's all about the biology. Because if there was no biology, we wouldn't have trees. I mean, we may have air, but there won't be anything to breathe it or anything to use it, or water. It's kind of hard to have air and water and not have biology. You'll have some kind of biology, right? Something.
Well, yeah, because all organic life is based on cell division, and you need the biology for the cell division. And the resonant frequencies, and we talk about energy, frequency, vibration, what Nikola Tesla talked about.
Yeah.
and that has to do with, you know, the universal energy, the energy in our planet, the Schumann resonance, etc. And that energy field, I think maybe that's what Correllian photography is picking up on, is that
Sure.
aura energy that's around us. You know, it's everything in all of the life forms, organic life forms, animals, plants, etc. It's even around Andy. You know, you'll get this glow going around Andy every once in a while. Sun myself, you know, but
So the Kirlian photography was, of course, developed by a guy named Kirlian. I don't know his full name, but in nature, when you have a certain uh, geometric structure, it will naturally have its frequency, and that frequency is also a color. So when
yeah,
you talk about auras, so rocks have auras, people have auras, ants have auras, biology has an aura, and it has a specific, interesting aura because it's like a group aura. You have not just one biology, you have a billion trillion different ones, and they all form one aura. The
yeah.
Earth forms one aura. The Earth is a perfect example of that. One aura, but multiple different forms of biology in that aura, right? Hey
Hmm.
guys, hi Jay, hi Be the Arrow. I like that. Be the Arrow. Hi Goat Head. Thanks for popping in.
Silly Lily as well, of
Lily
course.
Lily. So I started doing when I a long time ago. I learned that's why I do gem elixir, for example. A gem is a geometric. It's a biogeometric form. So a gem. When I studied gemology, right? You go to gemology course, they show you I do facets, right? How to cut a gem into different facets, right? And yeah, it captures the phenomena of coronal discharge, but it's more than that. It depends on the tool that you use. Because you see, you only look with you only find what you look for. So if you have a Korean photography that's set to a certain frequency, that's all it's going to get. Ideally now, you can tell a computer, AI computer, I want to see at the whole spectrum. I want to see everything. And you'll find that, like the human body, our eyes, some of us have we have a certain range of vision. Some of us
Yeah,
have a wider range. I was born with wider
wider range.
That's it. Wider range of vision. But so a computer, you can see it. So if you go to one of these shows and they have a computer that takes a picture of your aura, you can actually tell a computer, I want you to look in a certain area, a certain frequency. Because again, the our biology is made of multiple different biologies. We have the biology of the stomach, we have the biology of the lungs, and the heart, and the brain, right? Separate different biology all together in one body, but they all have certain frequencies that they tune into. So if you know that color or that frequency, you can actually give them that color, and that's what they want. So in nature, she's really smart. She doesn't just send you one frequency; she sends you a carousel of frequencies, right? A carousel. I call it carousel because it's a mixture of frequency. When I do my music, it's never one. I never sap you with one frequency.
Yeah,
So I will pick the certain songs have 10, 20 frequencies going on. Usually, I find that the more frequencies, the more fried you get because your body goes, "Hey, again." So I usually try to narrow it down to I do one main frequency that's undercurrent. And that undercurrent frequency is like in the river of life, you have a top current and the bottom current. See,
okay.
the bottom current goes one way, and you want to go the other way. But the current is important because that's the main force that your body will key into. Your body will key into other things, like your brain will key into other energies, and in your brain, that even broken down to different frequencies as well, because there are different functions have different frequencies. That's why we have 108 chakras. Each chakra is a certain frequency that can be activated, but by if you know what frequency it is. One of the things about biogeometry is that it uses that ability to counteract. So, for example, the pyramid structures, they counteract EMF frequencies.
Yeah,
They counteract shortwave radio frequencies. They counteract. You can't fly over that because your plane cannot. The instruments go like this, haywire. And so it sets up a shield that blocks those frequencies. So that's what in biogeometry there's a big talk about how you can set up be more natural for your biosystem, for your property, and of course it affects your fruit trees, it affects your garden, because that's one way you learn how to control all these other things. Are like here where I live. So right next door, there's the most powerful uh, uh, Wi-Fi setup I've ever been next to.
Yeah.
Holy cow!
Okay.
And one level, the home is solar power, so it doesn't have electricity flowing through it. Electricity is not natural. In nature, you find alternating current, not direct current. Okay,
Yeah.
in nature is alternating current. Tesla developed a way to use alternating current, so he sees that Mother Nature has it, so we can use it. But direct current is not a natural thing. What this is, basalt is the grand amendment. Basalt. Basalt is a particular. There are many different kinds. So when I do gem elixirs, it's also two forms, right? You have the raw form and you have the polished um, form where you do the facets and all those things. So you have the raw form. So basalt can be turned into a gem. It's just how it's faceted. But basalt is like it's just like it's paramagnetic. It absorbs. Remember, we talked a little bit about cosmic rays when they shoot through the earth and
Yeah.
they absorb certain frequencies, and so you have iron, copper, all those minerals. But basalt happens; it's one of those minerals, but it's also the way it was formed, the way it was formed in nature. It's built into it certain frequencies already. Same thing with a variety of other different types of natural products you find around the world, like for example, a lodestone. A lodestone has its own magnetic field around it, and our
Yeah.
body harmonizes with that. So if you have a weak magnetic field, you want to get something with a strong magnetic field. You get a lodestone, you carry it around. Your body goes, oh yeah, and it uses it as a source of energy and increase your magnetic field. You need a strong magnetic field to counteract all these other magnetic fields. This light, this
Yeah.
TV, it's constantly producing these magnetic fields. So you have to learn how to counteract that all the time because your body will start tuning into that magnetic field, and that's what you don't want. So that's where you get sick. That's where you get all kinds of other problems. And your brain is going, I can't do this, right? So you don't know, right? You don't have no idea. So basalt it's a very good, you can grind it up as a powder. It's like a form of rock dust. That's one reason why you are on the spot. Thank you, Green Thumb. Hi, man. Nice to see you. But rock dust, that's one reason why I locked rock dust. So rock dust, not only does it have the trace minerals, but it has a really unique energy frequency because it has all of these trace minerals. You see,
Yeah.
when they all combine into a collage of frequencies, that's when you get the most benefit from. You see, and so in the garden, you want to have as many frequencies as possible going on to counteract the way nature, well, not nature, the way human beings, you know how they have the band that the AM, FM band, well, those certain
Yeah.
frequencies, those are not found in nature. We create those. Mother Nature has one giant frequency, one giant band, right? And you don't tune into one band and another band. You're always tuning into multiple bands at one time because your body's absorbing all these different bands, frequencies, energy, right? And your body
Yeah.
needs that. We are multidimensional beings, and we need multidimensional energy. We can't function if we're just stuck to the ground and ignore that we're in space, floating through space, being bombarded with all this energy. It's hard to do. That's why I call it like being a zombie. So what happens is your system can no longer accept when you eat junk food, right? Junk food doesn't have that energy, right? It does not have that. So when you don't have your body says, wait a minute, what is this? I thought I was going to, and so what it does is that it blocks up the system. So it doesn't allow other energy to come in, let alone flow through your body. So you have 108 chakras for a reason. Most people know about 7 or 8 chakras, but your hand,
Yeah.
there's a chakra right here in your hand, another one over here, another one over here, another like this, all over the place. Your knees got several of them, your legs, right? And they all tune into certain frequency, or in other words, they tune into certain energies. It says
Yeah.
Relinquish to go live before 7:39 p.m. if you don't
Don't
really
worry
want
about it, Andy.
to. I'm reading that. I go, I don't know what that says then. So
Yeah,
I,
just LinkedIn's having a problem with us going live to LinkedIn today, so
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
going to worry about it.
So when I started doing, so I first got into biogeometry through um, Bach. Da 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 da. So that's music. Music is a form of biogeometry because but it's not geometry in a physical sense. It's geometry in a non-physical sense. That's what's cool about geometry, about frequencies and energy. There's a physical sense of it. You can see it manifest, and there's a non-physical sense. You hear it, or see it, or absorb it. Right? Yet it's the same. It's the same product, the same thing. That's why I first tuned into. So Bach also made Bach flower remedies, and so he's also a gardener. So he said, well, this plant heals. So, but this plant has a certain frequency. I can copy that frequency in this pill. And you take that, it's the same thing as if you take the plant. See? And that's
Okay,
Bach
yeah.
flower remedies. It's when I got into that early on in my youth, I said, well, how do I transfer it from this plant to this liquid or this pill? So I learned how to transfer that, how to do that. And then comes this book on the the images of water. I think that was what it's called, images of water, right? The Japanese guy created. He had an electron microscope that he looked under, and he saw these flakes, these crystals, right? And he realized that the water is the water is really very unique. It really is, because frequencies can be is data. Frequency is data, and the data can be absorbed by the water. We're made of water, so we absorb the data too. So anything that affects Mother Nature, when she started doing the rivers and the ocean, and they are full of frequencies. They absorb frequency and they radiate frequency. That's why that's why we have water in our body. Right, exactly right. Well, no, it's not beyond the scope of our senses, Ghetto Hippie, is you have the ability to expand your senses to see and hear and feel all of it. It's just that we are trained that we have this little area here to focus on. But that's why meditation, enlightenment, it's all about. Enlightenment is like, whoa, what happened, man? And there are other kinds of natural drugs. Mother Nature is giving you things. You take that, your mind goes poof, and your eyes go poof. You see, because we're stuck in our bodies, and we can only. This is as far as I can feel, as far as I can see. Right? I don't know what's over there on the other side. But if you leave your body, if you expand your consciousness, because your consciousness has nothing to do with this physical reality at all. That's what's unique about our consciousness. We can actually see other dimensions and other time and other space. That's what's really unique about. And human, I was talking to somebody the other day whether or not animals have a consciousness. Of course they do.
Yeah. So do plants.
Exactly. Of course the trees do. Of course the little biology in the soil, they have a consciousness too. But their consciousness is geared to a different reality. So they don't care what the universe does or what's going on out there. They just care how they get the energy that they're getting. See, right? That's what they want. So, and in order for, unfortunately, we are becoming such a race that we are constantly, atomic energy. Right. Okay. So Mother Nature has her own form of atomic energy. Right. Boom. Things are blowing up everywhere around the universe, but not on the planet. Right. We created our own by imitating nature. Boy, that we can blow this up. Unfortunately, that's a radiation that we can't survive with because our body cannot handle that type of frequency, which just literally melt and die. But there are frequencies that we are bombarded with all the time that we want.
Now, I do want to point out to everybody, and Andy's kind of said it. Mother Nature uses all of the frequencies. Mankind has captured certain frequencies, certain bandwidths, and has amplified those. That's what's affecting us. That's what that RF noise is. Those frequencies already existed in Mother Nature. It's how we manipulated them is doing damage, because it's like everything, it gets out of balance. But we did have a question here by Dr. Green Thumb. Invisible, speak of music's influence on plants, if you could.
My name is Andy, by the way. You can call me Andy. So when I started doing the Bach flower remedies, I realized that the flower that I wanted to imitate to create in that thing was producing a certain color. So I said, cool, you have a cool aura. Also, you have a cool frequency so that I can put over there. Because the idea is to transfer the frequency to the pill. And so I discovered really early on that plants also have an aura. Also, they also have a frequency, and they also tune in to certain frequencies that Mother Nature gives them. You might be surprised how the frequency of bird songs will do to plants. You'll be surprised how the frequency of rain, when it rains, you have the thunder. Okay, thunder produces a certain frequency that you feel it. It goes through the air and you go, whoa, and the trees go, whoa, and the ants and the birds go, whoa, wonderful. That's a certain frequency that we have tuned into, and it writes to the water. See, it writes this frequency to the water. When you're drinking it, you're absorbing it into the water. So I've learned. So when I thought that's how I started dealing with plants and people. My inner gardening music was really made to generate the frequency for the plants, for the soil. Turns out we are a part of that, so we get to benefit from that. But when it goes down deeper is that the frequency determines your genetic structure. Your frequency determines what that plant needs to function, what this human body needs to function. So my frequency that I tune into is different than the frequency that the plant wants. See, you know what I mean? Or the cockroach, or the ants, or the gopher. So they have their own little frequency, and plants have separate frequencies. Together they have one harmonic frequency, but individually they have their own frequency. You can copy that frequency. You don't even need. So with gems, for example, I learned that it's a more concentrated frequency than the plants. So the plants so the plants have a certain frequency. But if you were to tap into a gem, that gem has 1,000 to 1,000,000,000 times stronger frequency that affects the plants. So you just have to learn what frequency affects what plants. Because different plants have different consciousness, different levels of being, and they tune into these frequencies. That's why there are gems. You have these white, beautiful crystalline gems, right? You know, they're in the earth. Well, guess what? The biology has evolved to listen to the gems, to listen to the crystals, as well as anything that's in the ground. All gems are in the ground, right? They're not found in the air. They're not found in a cloud. They're in the ground or in the mountain, right? In the certain, like gold. Gold is a particular frequency. You know your body is made of gold fiber. You know that, right? Your energy travels on these golden threads. Gold is what we need to transfer the frequency. Gold is a very high, pure level, like better than silver and iron, all those things. Gold is unique. I was talking to somebody today. He says, why do aliens come here? He asked me. I said, they came for the gold in the water.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they come here. This is on this planet, in this whole galaxy, this only place you're going to find gold and water. In this whole galaxy. That's why we can't find anybody else. Well, you're looking for certain people like us. There may be other aliens or other creatures that don't need gold, but even then, I find that aliens need gold, just like we do. But they don't get it. Aliens use gold because gold transmits a certain frequency, and aliens who work very well, especially evolved aliens, they tune into frequencies. It's all about frequencies, right?
Energy, frequency, vibration, like Nikola Tesla
That's
said. But
that's
I want
that's
to point out what Lily put up here. I mentioned this before. As a child, I believed that it was the bird song that woke up the trees in the spring. And then Ghetto Hippie also says bird song opens stomata on plant leaves.
That's right.
So,
That's right. So I wrote a new song just yesterday, and it starts with a bird, and it gets your attention immediately. Your body goes, "Hey, what you saying?" The bird just chirping. So I have a couple of different birds in there, and your body automatically picks up that frequency. I have a device that will show me what frequency I'm hearing. I can see the device that tells me what frequency, and it also generates it. It's really cool because Hilda Clark is her name. I actually started with machines on Rife, our Royal Rife, RIFE,
yeah, the Rife machine.
RY.
Uh, that I can't remember.
Hey, silly, how you spell the Royal Wife? It's Rife. I forgot how to spell it. It starts with R. Rife, I think it's right.
Okay, I found this on the web for how do you spell the royal wife is right. Check it out.
Okie dokie there. Okay, she's listening to us. You know that,
Man,
right?
I didn't mention her name or nothing. I even put it on the thing, and she decided to. Oh boy, she is listening to it.
Oh
So,
yes, yes.
so it's Rife, RYFE, I think. or IIFP. And he developed a machine that actually reads the frequency. There it is, right? And I met his son recently too. He has a sapper, really cool. But he has a device that allows you to not only read the frequencies, but generates it. And then Hilda Clark comes along, and she does the same thing. She has a frequency generator, and basically she tells you certain frequencies in your body are diseases, and the way you cure the disease is you counteract it with a frequency that would normally kill it. And that's the way nature always has. So one thing I learned from my mother, if you get some poison and some poison oak or whatever, look around within feet, you're going to find the antidote. You're always going to find an antidote right around the same area you found the poison. You see? So Mother Nature has set up these counterbalances for toxins. And so when I learned, I did the Bach flower remedies for a long time, and then I realized when I started getting into gems, this gem has a very powerful frequency, and it's not the size of the gem that matters either. I mean, people say I want to buy a 20-carat diamond, right? But a half carat, even a tiny little diamond, is just as powerful as a 20. There's only the only thing that does is feeds your eyes, but you but it's still the same frequency. The frequency does not change. It doesn't get amplified. It doesn't get stronger. It's the same frequency. So I have some black diamonds, and they're tiny, weeny little things. They're just as powerful as any other frequency. So I learned about frequencies, how they affect, and then I started realizing that because when I started using frequency, the plants would start harmonizing to the frequency. The plants actually behaved differently. They were healthier and happier, and bugs would not touch them. That means they weren't stressed out. The higher the stress, the greater the pest, right? So it releases stress. Same thing with the human body. It releases your stress. So we have psychotic reactions to soundtracks. I used to manipulate viewers of movies, etc. The CIA has a numerical value rating system for the effectiveness of movies and their sound. You're absolutely right, Gail. You'll know that
plants react to sound, and we do. It's all together. It's one big circle of life that reacts to this, guys.
So what you want to do is like for me, when I do is I like playing the music that I write because it's written specifically for gardening. So when I first started doing it, I had big speakers. I would park in people's properties and flop it over sideways. It was on the ground, and you could feel the music through your pants, through your legs, And I swear that the property behaved differently than if it wasn't. And the way it behaved differently is that the plants would bloom more. The fruit would be tasting good. There was hardly any diseases. There's no place you can go without finding worms. The ants were happy. They weren't going around going nuts. They behaved a little better. When ants go nuts, whenever you have a problem, the ants are the first ones to go, oh, okay, time to fix this. We got to do something, right? That's what they do. I learned that from experience over and over again. When I go to people's property, without ever seeing them, right, without ever knowing them, I can tell what's going on and harmonically wise on the property. If they're tone deaf, right? If they're tone deaf, nothing's going to happen. So a lot of times they have these Wi-Fi's, all the TV things, all kinds of things, and they live surrounded by high wires, right? High tension wires. Yeah. They have a law that says you're not allowed to have a school underneath high tension wires. Right.
But they can build a house there, not a problem.
They can build a house, they can have a garden, whatever you want to, and you still are going to be affected by these high tension wires.
Yeah.
Because it produces an anti-life frequency. It literally does. It shuts your body, your ability to deal with it. And not just you, but the plants, the trees, everything else. It doesn't function the way it's supposed to. In other words, it's not listening, it's not able to pick up the harmonics, right? When I learned I encountered it's called Hieronymus device. Well, first of all, when I started doing this, I would give talks, and then people would come over to me and say, I'm from Germany, and we have a radionics device. Radionics. So that's the first thing I learned about harmony. So radionics it's exactly that. It's a device that harmonizes. So one of the things you do is you take a picture of yourself when you're healthy, put it in the radionics device. And if you're sick, it'll transmit the harmony that when you're healthy to your body. So you can do the same thing with a tree. When that tree was healthy, you put it in the radionics device, and it will transmit to the tree. So also one of the things that I've learned to do is the Hieronymus device imitates the way nature makes these frequencies. So I learned how nature makes a frequency from a couple of different people. Rudolf Steiner was talking about how nature makes its frequencies. There
Yeah.
was the Hieronymus device, but the radionics device was in Germany, and it was used for healing, and it was illegal in the United States because it works. And also, he basically would put I ran into, when I gave a talk one year, I ran into this person named, I still remember his name, Phil Callahan. So he wrote a whole bunches of books. One's called Tuning into Nature. So when he heard me talk about this, is where do you get all this information from? I wrote a book on it. I go, well, it's all out there. We don't have to invent it. We just have to be able to see it. So I get it from nature. I found out from experience. Everything I talk about is from experience, right? When I talk about dimensions, I've gone through all dimensions. I can travel back and forth easily. No problemo. Scientists are going, well, maybe, they call it entrapment. Okay, they have a name, it's called entrapment, where you have one device in one part of the universe, another part of the universe, they both harmonizing together, right?
Yeah.
Ever heard about the fork, the tuning fork? So you can have a tuning fork here and a tuning fork in another dimension. If they're trapped together, they're harmonized. There's no such thing as dimensions, time and space, and your consciousness is the link to all these things. Your consciousness can connect to the consciousness of a tree, consciousness of an ant. If you acknowledge their consciousness, they will acknowledge your consciousness. That's the way it works. You see, if you don't, we don't acknowledge anybody's consciousness. We don't even acknowledge our own consciousness.
No, we don't acknowledge our body's consciousness, the biology that builds it all. It's conscious.
So how can you be taking
the show?
Right? How can you be taking toxins in your body that harms your consciousness? Right? Because I tell people, I have a lot of friends that meditate and want to be holy. They say, but you really want to be holy, you have to stop with the alcohol, you have to stop with the tobacco, you have to stop with the toxin. I give a list of 100 things you're doing to yourself that's killing your consciousness. Because that's what's going to die first. Your consciousness will go, and then your body will go, well,
living in Malibu.
I guess we got to go now, Right. So I learned that ideally what I would love to do is teach people. So what I used to do in the beginning, and I don't do it anymore because these people are really weird, I would get a crystal and I would bury it in people's yard. I would get a crystal that I would train to harmonize and send the frequency out. I learned, it's called Finhorn, Findhorn. You guys should look it up. It's really, really cool. It's one of the places I got my name from, because I got my name from a couple of different things happening at the same time. Finhorn is a place in Scotland or Nova Scotia, somewhere over there, and maybe even on the island of England, island of Man, somewhere over there. They've been around for a long time. And what they do is they acknowledge the natural energy, but they don't call it energy. They call it divas, natural spirits, natural beings, right, of the world. And so they acknowledge those because their consciousness can expand to them, and you can see the energy, the consciousness of a tree, for example. But it's not just a tree. They're beings of energy that live on this planet. They've been here forever. This is really their home. We're just ants, ants here, right? And so Finhorn teaches you how to harmonize with those energies. And once you do that, your property has to be a sacred place to allow that harmony to function. And you can literally form a shield. There are ways you can block, it's called holographic. And that's one of the things I do with my music. I learned to make holographic music, not just music. That's why you have to listen to with the headphones. It's called binaural. One frequency comes here, another frequency comes here. It goes right to your pineal gland. Your pineal says, okay, hey, Joe. And it sends that one to that one, and it sends this one to that one, right? And so it's a process. So I've learned that when I go out, so when I make I'm going to tell you guys a secret. Don't tell anybody because I'll put me out of business. But when I make my liquids to spray, I'm consciously infusing the liquid with certain harmonics, because you can do that. So when you if you read the book, The Images of Water, and it was a Japanese guy, right?
Yes.
Japanese, yeah.
Dr. Yamamoto.
Yeah, so he started first by writing "I love you" and put it on the outside. First, he'll take it was a camera. What's a special camera? Looks very, it's like a microscopic camera, but it brings up the images. I forgot the name of it, but it's a camera that picks up very, very small things, and so we can look at the crystals.
That's a microscope.
Yeah, but there's a name for it. That's a really cool instrument. It goes really, really low, really small, and you can look at tiny, tiny things. I don't. Silly knows everything. She'll tell you. Come on, Silly, spit it out.
You've got a microscope that
It's
digs
not a
through
microscope. It's a
makes
special microscope that goes down to the microscopic level, even lower. That's why I can see the crystals, right?
okay. So it's just excuse me, just a different electron microscope.
Electron microscope. See, I
Thanks,
knew.
Ghetto Hippie.
Ghetto. Thank you, hippie, ghetto hippie. There you go. It's the electron because it goes zoom right down to almost that level, and so it could actually. So what he does, he would go to a lake, take a thing of water, look at a microscope, see how it looks, and if it's dirty or toxic, this flake is like really distorted and everything. So he would write "I love you" on the glass. I love you, or something nice, love. And then look at it was literally changed the shape of the flake. Then he would write, "I hate you," and they go back again. Then he says, "Well, let's try this." So he went to a lake, had a bunch of people hold hands, and they all said, "I love you, I love you, I love you." Changed physically because the intent of our intent changed it. Our consciousness changed it, right? So it has a lot to do with our consciousness as well as the universal consciousness. Because if our consciousness is not in tune, we're not going to be. We're also going to be. We're into hate more than we are. It's easier to create chaos than peace. Simple as that.
Oh, big time. Yeah, big
Right,
time.
right. So it's easier to say, I hate you, kill, 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 than to be kind and generous and peaceful. And that has to be us. And so so I've learned that I can create gem elixirs. So I used to make the same device based and the same thing that Hilda Clark would teach you is two pads. They're connected together. And in the center you have a switch. And so you put one over here and something over here, the one transfer over here, and you click on the switch to make a connection. All that does is telling your brain, I have a connection, and you are consciously sending that to there. See, you're the energy that's causing that. You don't have to turn anything on. You don't have to get batteries, plug it in. We're the energy that makes that work.
Yeah.
And then as I evolved in my craziness, I don't need that. All I gotta do is I got a book. You have a book. Here's a gem. You look at that picture of that gem. That gem energy, I know what the frequency is. I don't have to physically see the gem. That gem generates a frequency regardless if it's in a book or if it's in physical form. Cool, right?
Yeah.
And that's the way it works in nature. Exactly right. Exactly right. It's the intent. So we have the ability to create things that Mother Nature gave us to create. That's why we want. That's what we do. So when I do gem elixirs, I think of ruby, right? Oh, there's a ruby, the ruby red, right? Beautiful. It has a certain frequency. I don't need to know what that frequency is. I just have to think ruby, and I can think ruby in the water. And I told I told the Japanese guy, why don't you do that with gems? Because if you look at, so what you do is you put a gem in the water. You take a electron microscopic view of the water before the gem and after the gem. You'll see that the water will have the hue or the color of that gem.
Mm-hmm.
The color is very important. So you put a ruby in water, and you put the gem, and then you take it out. And you put it, if you do, you know what I mean. You do the electron microscope view afterwards, and you don't have to do anything. But you don't know what's happening is that when you put the ruby in the water, your consciousness is already putting the frequency of that ruby into the water. See, you cannot do it otherwise. You can't. I'm not looking. I put it right. No, as soon as your physical body, your mind, your consciousness is literally taking that energy and putting it in the water. When I was a long time ago, when I was young, my mother used to make. The people used to come to her and they say, "Well, my house is cursed, right, or haunted, or this person over there said a curse on me. I want you to cure the curse." And my mom will kill the chicken and do a sacrifice, but that generated the consciousness, right, to do that. So I said, "Mom, you don't have to do that." So she would send me to a store and she would buy some of these crystals, were some of the cheaper, and she would crush them down, put them in wine, and the consciousness will be generating that in the wine, right? So I said, "Mom, you don't have to do that. All you gotta do is put that. You don't even need to put it, but it helps to have something to guide your consciousness. You take that, put it in the water. So you're guiding your consciousness to create that in the water."
I don't know. What flashed into my mind, Andy, is it wasn't your mom needed to do it. It was the people that she was doing it for needed
Exactly
that.
right.
To go, oh, okay,
Exactly
yeah,
right.
okay, yeah,
Exactly right. Exactly, because they're there watching you do this, and so
yeah,
she's getting them into. Okay, you did that to the water. Now the water has this. But at the same
yeah,
token, she could say, "Okay, I'm taking this gem." And the problem was, when we should put it in the wine, they would drink the damn thing. I said, "No," even though that's really cool, but as long as you have the smaller version of it, right? You don't want anything too big, because that also gets into your body. That's even stronger. But so what I made her do is I made her put in little vials, little glass vials, put the
yeah.
gem in there, put the top on it, put that in the water. And I still do that to this day. Got little vials with different gems in there. I'll be happy to show you guys some of my combinations of gems later. But
Yeah, you'll have to do that one of these days, Andy.
yeah, so you put that then the water, and then that generates the water to have that particular liquid. And so what I realized is that we're water. I think somebody said it was 75% water, right? Something like that. So
Yeah,
all we
the numbers keep going up and down. The
so
70,
you
80,
know
90.
so you know when people are wearing things or they wear on their rings or whatever, they are consciously absorbing that energy when they
Yeah,
wear
yeah,
whatever it is they wear around them. They say, "Oh, this is yeah, right," and they're absorbing it, right? So I learned that you can actually and you can actually take a variety of gems, because I've learned again, Mother Nature doesn't do any one thing. So I take a carousel. It's a carousel, right? It's a combination of different gems, and it makes this song. It's a
yeah.
song, and that's what the song. That's when I create. I try to create that song again, because the song has the frequencies in it, and the gems are in it as well. You see, so when I go to people's properties, I I actually do it. I actually have a consciousness that I tell. And when my workers work with me, somebody's spraying, he's like la 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 la, and I go, no, you missed the whole thing. I was trying to tell some of my other friends, and I think you know who they are, but when they spray, they need to have a consciousness that I am spraying this magical elixir, and it has this wonderful. I don't need to know what the frequency is, because they don't need to know, but I do. When I spray something, I'm spraying. I deliberately tell it to the plants, to the soil, to the trees. This is for
Mhm.
you. It's not the mixture that's in there that counts. It's the energy that counts. And people
Well,
don't
it's
get
like
that
giving
energy.
thanks for the food you're eating. It's the same
It's
idea.
the same thing. Give thanks to the food, and you're basically saying, I accept the energy that this food gives me. And you
Yeah,
don't need to know the whole complex of what the energy is. You just need to know something's coming and you're open to it. See,
yeah,
that's a big difference. And on people's properties, they're constantly canceling out the natural Mother Nature's energy, constantly, all the time, canceling it out.
yeah,
You have a barren environment that a bird will go, I'm out of here, man. And it's like, right? So the bird can sing, but it doesn't get very far. A guy did a study once and he went to this forest. So he sat down and he would tape it, a video and audio, right? And he did that once a month for years. And one of the things he came about is that slowly but surely, the less and less birds singing, less and less and less and less. They weren't harmonizing. A few birds would come here and do stuff. It wasn't the same thing as the forest going, right? And so
yeah.
he realized that we are constantly. So now it's not only just this country; it's the whole Earth that we are. And I'll give you an example. The satellites are circling around the Earth. What do you think they're doing? Right? They're
Sending
bombarding.
frequency.
Right, they're bombarding everything. So you have some African guy in the middle of the Africa in the forest, nothing there. He's getting bombarded. But not only is
Yeah,
he here, but he's getting bombarded. The trees, the insects, the birds, the creatures are all also getting bombarded. If they don't hear that natural energy, because hearing tells them they're getting it. If they don't hear it, they're not getting it. And then that's where you get decay, disease, and a bunch of things start to happen that's anti-life. And so that's what this biogeometry is, understanding that geometry means harmony, harmonics. And
okay.
it manifests in physical form. There are many different forms that will generate this harmonic. That's why the Egyptians are so cool. They came up with the pyramids, but the variety of other things that they came up with that will generate as well. Almost every culture around the world, they have certain structures. You go to Central America, you're going to see, and they all key into the same kind of structure because the harmonics is the same around the world, right? You're not going. The pyramids may be different, but they all have the same shape.
Yeah.
Right, and the circle is another shape. It's another harmonic circle. There's the Star of David is another harmonic. There's a whole bunch of them out there that basically, once you see that, you're already in tune with that harmonic energy. It's very hard to actually get it down. As a scientist, you want to be able to see it, you want to be able to touch it, you want to be able to duplicate it. So they're having an issue with that. How do we get in touch with all this harmonic energy? But you have to be a little bit more than a scientist, like Nikola Tesla was a scientist, but he also realized what's going on around the universe, and he knew frequencies, and so you know it from experience. So the frequency will create a certain geometric form. That's where it works. I don't know what it's called, but there's a group of people that big sprinkle salt, and when they play their thing, it creates a certain shape.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. I know when we had Harvest, the good gentleman from Harvest Harmonics on with Leighton, we actually had a video, with the vibration table and it making different patterns, and yeah, it's amazing to see.
Exactly right. So there are some of us that actually can see the harmonics. I happen to be fortunate enough, and unfortunately, it works the other way around too. I'm constantly being bombarded with such negative harmonics that you have to set up a field around you all the time, even while you're asleep. Like I said, next door is one of the strongest Wi-Fi things I've ever encountered, and I'm sleeping next to it, and I'm always going, oh my god.
We've been wondering why you're a little crazy there,
I'm
Andy.
gonna get it, pow, 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 pow. But it's not them; it's the machine that they do. And my little phone will pick up their Wi-Fi, right? So I said, let's see how far we can go for this Wi-Fi. I went across the street, all the way over there. I'm still picking up. I went over there in the forest. I was still picking up. I said, God, this is because my Wi-Fi only goes a few feet here and there, right? This thing is like a big tower making this beacon going out like that. Really. So when I was in the service, I also had a time. Well, I tell you one thing. So I live here in Malibu. There's a road that runs through it to the valley. There's a big giant, not radar, microwave.
Yeah.
The military has a giant microwave antenna, and the last thing you want to do is do LSD and go out there at night and watch it. Do not, or mushroom. Do not do that, because you're gonna see all of this stuff. And I don't need to do that. I can see. I sit there at night, and the damn thing was pointing at me. I go, oh shit. Gotta go, because it was like pointing at me, and it's like a wind. You feel blowing in there, and the harmonics of that is not good, not good at all. You end up having a massive. A lot of times I get headaches just from that. Yeah, 20 mile radius. I go crying out loud, right? And that means everybody living within that radius is getting a shot of this, whether you like it or not. And you're being infected with it because your cells start to break up. They actually use it in a military form. They have there's Wi-Fi 6, right? Well, Wi-Fi 6 is used solely for military. It's so powerful they can direct the Wi-Fi beam at you, scramble your cells, and you die. It doesn't touch anything else physically. See? Yeah. So sooner or later they're going to come up. They already have that form of it. So the smart meters.
Yeah, the smart meters.
The smart meters at a certain different frequency, and they beam it directly. The problem is, it's here's the wall of your house. You sleep over here. The Wi-Fi, the meter's right there, and it doesn't just stop there. It goes right through the walls to you, and you get it. So what a lot of people are doing is they before they put aluminum foil on their wall, and then they put something over it. And that blocks the Wi-Fi coming into your room. You can't sleep with that stuff. It will cause all kinds of damages. Mainly, it damages your DNA cells. It damages your ability for there are a lot of people who become sterile because they can't have babies anymore. The whole electromagnetic field of their body is screwed up. So, and that's it. They're even working on a stronger Wi-Fi for ships and planes that they can beam at boats and planes, other planes like that. That's what a laser is all about. It's a concentrated frequency. Yeah. Mother Nature has its own lasers, which is very cool. When you see a let's see, what is it? A black hole shoot out a certain ray. You'll see as the beam of light just go off into never land, right? It just goes off. That's like a laser being concentrated. So Mother Nature does all this stuff. She's been doing it for a long time, and we have to uh, not ignore it because we can use that to tune in. That's what tuning into nature was all about. He's basically realized that Mother Nature has a way of concentrating these energy. They alternate between carbon and non-carbon layers. So you alternated the layers. You'll find that the Earth and certain places, the mountain stuff, there's different layers happening, and the layers what causes the attraction. Wilhelm Reich made an argon accumulator. He calls it argon energy. It depends on where in the world you're at. Chi, the same energy we're talking about that it gets concentrated. But the radionics is the same thing. It tunes into certain frequencies, and so when you learn about biogeometry, you can put some structures around your home that will. Well, to give you an example, if you have a Buddha statue, that works really well, or any kind of statue that has any kind of significance to you, because it does radiate a certain frequency. Crystals do that. You can bury it in your property or place it around your property. That's why people have crystals in their home, because where they sleep, they want to have more energy there. So crystals are really cool, but I see them as living beings. I see them as interdimensional telephones.
Yeah, okay.
Interdimensional cell phones. It's an interdimensional cell phone. Because I work a lot with kids. So I have this 14-year-old girl, really super intelligent. Their mother would get angry and beat on her. In her country, they say it's perfectly normal to whip your kid. So she's traumatized. He brought her here to Malibu to go to the school he wants to go to. So we met. We knew each other for years. And so she was telling me about the kid. So I said, okay, here, I'm going to give you some things to give back to the kid. And you don't have to tell her anything about it. Let's see what she does. And so it has rubies, emerald, diamonds, all kinds of things. And small. I mean, I'm not a rich guy. These are things people give to me. So when I do gem elixir, I give it to them to pass it on. Send me back. You can buy. I used to go online to midnight auctions and bid for gems. $100. Nobody around. I got it. That's what I do. 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock at night. So I gave it to her, and actually, to him, and I told him, put it under her pillow. Don't say anything.
Yeah.
He put it under her pillow. She woke up really in the middle of the night, reached under the pillow and said, Dad, did you have anything to do with this? She says, yes. Andy gave it to me to give to you, and he told me not to tell you anything about it. You'll figure it out. So now she's in Nepal. She took it with her. Because first thing she did was look at it and put it away. Right? She said, I don't want it. And then she would go to it, and as soon as she opened up and poured it out, her eyes fixated on one little gem, started sparkling to her, right? She took that one, put it aside, put everything back, and that one little gem was what she played with. And I really changed her consciousness. It changed everything. It released her stress. It released her anxiety. She's no longer feeling really super stressed out. But then her sister started looking too. So, what are you doing? The mother started, what are you doing? And so they sent me pictures. Here we are. and so the gems work that way. And that's what we want to do, that we want to be in touch with nature. That's what biogeometry means to me, is being in touch with nature. One reason why you like going swimming or being in the forest or being in an environment. See, we're too much surrounded with these electric fields all the time. And what's worse is we don't ground ourselves. We have these shoes that we separate ourselves from the soil, right? So we very rarely ground ourselves. Grounding is a whole science now, how you can generate your own electromagnetic field simply by grounding yourself. That's what trees do. They're grounded. They accept the energy, right? Plants, roots in the soil, right? They're grounded.
Have you ever seen the grounding movie, Andy?
Maybe I have.
I'm not sure how long ago they did it, but Rebecca, we actually had her on with Leighton this last Monday, and it's free on YouTube. I think on her channel, Big Ranch. Oh, geez, now, yeah. Anyway, you could get the links, but she's the one that did the grounding movie. So grounding is extremely important to make that flow. Now, your story of the kids and the gems, and that she picked out a certain one that really called to her. We
Yeah,
can do the same thing with plants and
yeah,
animals,
yeah,
and
yeah,
in your grocery store.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I look at all these
yeah,
oranges. Which one's calling to me?
yeah.
Okay.
Right. Exactly right. Exactly right. And that's what we have to learn to deal with is to acknowledge that you're being called, and you acknowledge to say, I get it, I hear you, I want it. And that's like a body saying, I need that. I'm hungry for this and this
Yeah.
frequency. That's all it
Yeah.
really is. I need that. But your eyes are not the way that the body's going to absorb the frequency. Your eyes just direct you to things. It's
Mhm.
you. As soon as she touched it, as soon as her consciousness went there,
Yeah.
it was her consciousness that created the gems to sparkle. To they're all doing the same thing. Me. But your consciousness went you. And
Yes.
you picked that one because that was a particular one that her body needed to
Mhm.
reestablish her energy level. No.
Well, Lisa wasn't Siri this time.
Yeah. Who? Siri, right?
Siri or
Siri, what
Google
you,
Alexa or whoever you deal with. I
Siri
don't
is
have
talking.
any of that stuff in my house, Andy.
Siri's talking to me already. Yeah. So that's the thing. We have to learn to get out into Mother Nature and ground ourselves. The Earthling movie. There you go. See.
Yeah.
Thank you, Silly. And that's important too. Just take off your shoes. When I go gardening, I like to take off my shoes. I like to sit down in nature. I love it when I'm under a tree. That's why I'm a tree hugger. So when you hug a tree, what do you think happens? You get grounded with the tree, takes you in, it grounds you with it too. See, you get grounded just for that second minute, whatever. You go, oh man, right? When you're grounded, you see the earth rotating. This whole thing is happening, and then you have to go back to work. So that's what it is. We have to learn how to ground more. So all biogeometry is learning how to listen to nature, how to tune into nature. There are instruments that you can use that will help you tune into nature. The gems, the crystals are there for you to use. Because when I do dowsing, believe it or not, I'm a good dowser. And the only reason why I'm a good dowser, people will send me a map. There it is. What does it say? How to befriend a tree. I can't read it, but what does it say?
Yeah, let me just find
Zoom
the
it
button
up.
where I can zoom. Where there it is down on the bottom here. Okay, it's how to befriend a tree. And it's beginning practices of Chinese internal organ massage. But go to this Manic Chi universaltawa.com. I'll get that so it's bigger for people. Yes, of course. Now I can't. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
And this is a PDF that was sent to me, and how you can communicate with trees,
Yeah.
and feed the energy back and forth, and that's exactly what we're talking about
Yeah.
right now is tapping into that energy and working within nature, guys. It's we have the capability if we take our blinders off and allow ourselves to do it.
So when I go to a property, I key into the most powerful tree in that place.
Yeah.
Like it's the spirit of the whole trees. I learned that from Finhorn. There's always one tree that's the most powerful, and that's the one you
Mother
acknowledge.
tree.
Yeah, and if you don't acknowledge that tree, you're in deep shit, right? You're in deep trouble.
She's gonna swat your ass, boy.
No, so I don't even. I tell the person I'm going to go hug your tree. I do kinesiology to branches just because it tunes my brain into that tree. Oh yeah, too much water. Oh, but if people know I'm already weird enough. I don't want them to think this guy's going cuckoo, cuckoo. But basically, I've already been cuckoo already. I'm so totally nuts, and pretty soon I'll go back to being sane. I think when I'm dead, that's when I'll be sane, right? When I'm dead, I'll be it's normal now.
What's sanity? What's insanity? It's like, I think that it's insane for people to eat chocolate covered frog legs. Okay, I think that's totally insane. But the people that are
Yeah,
eating them, that's normal. That's
I
not
don't.
insane. That's normal.
No, I don't think I want to eat the chocolate covered. I ate chocolate. I ate chocolate covered ants. That was pretty good, but I didn't like that either. I
Yeah.
just kept thinking there's a tiny little being in there I'm eating. I wrote a book called Dances with Ants, for
Yeah.
example. See, and so I've learned. So it's a skill you have to develop, like everything else. You really do, and you'll find that you're surrounded with beings that love to talk to you if you're just willing to listen and acknowledge them.
Yeah.
I
Just
start by
acknowledge
acknowledging
nature.
you. When I see people, I acknowledge them. Animals, birds, I acknowledge them. Hey, how you doing? And they acknowledge me back. Oh, you're talking to me? Yeah, man, I'm right here with you. So that's important. That's the start. And it will balance out you. It will heal you because right now we're not in touch with what our essence is. We are elemental beings. We're beings of light and energy. And you got to do that sometime. Otherwise, your body will just rot because it needs that energy to survive. Folks, we'll be here next week again. I have no idea what we're going to talk about, but I have one. I mean, I'm sending him an idea at a time. I should, but I also go to my website. I have a brand new show. It's on 150 stations, 4 TV stations. If you get my newsletter, you'll be able to tune into the show, tell you where it's at to see it. I would appreciate if you follow that because I think you're going to find that I'm going to be. I was just going to let loose the reins, just let loose the reins, and have a good time. I do it here too. So you don't have to go there. You can stay right here and listen to us. But I like to communicate with you. So if you want to talk about energy, if you want to talk about love, you want to talk about how to heal yourself. That's why I wrote a book, How to Heal the Earth in Your Spare Time. See, because what it really means is that you have to heal yourself first. That's what it means.
Yes.
See, right? You heal yourself, but you can't heal yourself if you're toxic in, toxic out, toxic everywhere. Duh. It's all about the biology, guys.
Yep. So, and as for the channel tomorrow, the ladies on chiropractic is sexy are doing you keep your body keeps the score. What is it telling you? So that's tomorrow. It's 11 a.m. Mountain Time, 10 a.m. Pacific, and whatever that is on the East Coast. But anyway, that's tomorrow with chiropractic is sexy. So, guys, we will see you there tomorrow. And don't forget to check out Andy's website and check out his new show.
I always thought chiropractic was sexy, but it has to be done with sexy by sexy women, I suppose.
Well, you'll have to watch the
I
show.
I shouldn't say.
There
I
are two
shouldn't say
sexy women. Okay.
that. I shouldn't say that, right? Oh, well,
All right,
he's a male.
guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Take care now.